share with you now what you need to do your sewing repairs. One is certainly a tape measure. A variety of cottons. Now, black and white are a must to have in your stash because your white will do several colours. So if you look inside a lot of summer clothes, you will find they're stitched in white, even though they're lemon, pale mint, pale blue. So you can get away with white in a lot of clothing. And black you can use on navy, dark brown, dark grey. You will certainly get away with black on the inside of a garment. Tailor's chalk, I picked these two up from B&M for about 89p. So the dark one I would use on light clothes, and the white one I would use on dark clothes. So you can see the different colours. That's why you've got two colour options. Either clips or pins is a good selection. Either or will do. I love working with clips more so than pins because I'm all forever pinning myself with them. But if you've got to pin a hem up that's come down or clip them up, they will hold them in place again. Although when they've got a deep set creasing, they normally stay in place anyway. A good selection of needles is also a must. On satin and silk, you would use a thin needle. If you was doing denims or corduroy, you would use a thicker needle. So you can buy packs with different sizes in. An unpicker is a must to have in your stash, and a good pair of scissors, because you want when you're cutting your cottons to thread in your needle, you want a good sharp cut, because if it comes like when it's goes all the cotton separating, you will struggle to get it in your needle. So that's why a good sharp cut, which gives you a clean cut to the end of the cotton, is much easier to thread in your needle. This video was requested, and it was basically asked to do that people who haven't got sewing machines and who haven't got any sewing skills. So the very simple repairs, like how to do a blind hem on, it's actually a top that I show you how to do it on, but it's the same process whether you do a skirt, a pair of trousers, any blind hem that's come undone, this is the repair that you will do on it. How to sew a button on, how to repair a hole that's in a pair of jogging bottoms, and it's going to be filmed over several days. It's because I'm going to be filming them as I come across the repairs. So let's get started on the video. I've got here is a cardigan, and there's a pull just on the back. You can just see there the pull. So I've just got an eagle here. Now this is actually an eagle that you would use for recovering a settee, but I've got it because of the big hole there. So I'm just going to put that down in where the pull is actually coming from, and I'm going to put that down, and then I'm going to make sure that this goes through the hole. But because it's a big hole, it should be quite easy to thread through. So you can see it's just there. So I'm just going to come here and pull it through, and then I'm just going to pull the needle through, and then there you can see it's all being pulled back. So that's how you solve that problem with any pulls. And even if you've got a fine pull on, say like a polyester skirt, if you get an eagle and basically just put it in, push your needle down as far as you can and get a pair of tweezers just to put your fine thread through, then again push your needle through and it will pull even the smallest of pulls through to the back. I'm going to do a simple repair, and this is just a pair of jogging bottoms, which is my daughter's, and it's got a tiny hole in the crotch area there. You can just see there where the small hole is. So we're going to repair that. So first of all, I'm going to start off by just threading the needle. So I'm going to pull the cotton through, and I'm going to double thread it so you've got double strength. So what I did there was I just wrapped the cotton round, and then I just pulled it, which made it into a tiny knot. So where the hole is, just here, I'm going to just come into the seam . So I'm going to weave down, making sure that I'm coming inside where the hole is. and making sure that I'm going down into that seam, so you can see there where the needle is, where it's intertwined. And then I'm going to pull that through. I'm going to turn it the other way, and then I'm going to come back. But I'm going to come back and go where it wasn't stitched. So when it's done, then there's actually will be a running stitch there. It's a bit hard to see because of the mole grey. Now I'm going to pull it again. Now what I'm doing here is I'm going to keep doing the same stitch in the same area for a few times, and then I'm just going to put the cotton through that last stitch, pulling the cotton so there's no loops, and then I'm just going to cut that thread off. And then if I just get that and show you on the right side, you can see there that there's no stitch, there's no hole anymore, it's just stitched. Right, so what I've got here then, I've got a top. It's a cotton top and I've got it turned inside out. And what's happened is on the hem, it was blind hemmed, and you can just see there where the hem has come down. The front's come down, but the back is still stitched. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to thread my needle, and I'm only going to have the cotton one thread thick because it's blind hem, and you're going to have a thicker stitching if you had to. So I'm going to go to the end, and I'm going to just take that cotton around my finger. You can see there where it overtwines, and then you just roll it, fetch it down, and you've got your knot. So I'm going to come to the side seam where it starts, and I'm going to put the knot, you've got a side seam here. I'm going to come underneath the hem and bring it up through, so it's coming through that side seam. So the knot will be underneath the hem inside. And then what you're looking at doing with this is just grabbing one tiny piece of the top and coming up through onto the hem. Now what you can do with this is all pressed in place, so it's nice and flat. You can pin it if you want to keep it in place, and then you can come up. I've got 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to pull that through. And you actually do it slightly quicker by doing it so many at a time like that, instead of doing one at a time and pulling it through. So you can see there again, I've just picked up a tiny thread. So on the right side, you're not going to see that stitching because it's blind hemming, and then coming up into the hem. And again, 1, 2. Now with this as well, you do not want a chunky needle when you're doing this, because you're wanting to pick a fine thread up. If you've got a really chunky needle, you're going to be picking more up than a fine thread, because it's a thicker needle that's going through it. So the finer needle, the better. One, 2, 3, and then pull. So that is your stitching, but on the right side you're not going to see any of it. So I'm just going to do the rest of this off camera, and then I'll show you how I finish off. So I've got to the end, so what I'm just going to do now then, I'm just going to come to the inside part. So this is like the hem that's been turned over, and I'm just going to keep threading, stitching that, secure it down. And I've done that about 6 times, so that's going to secure that, and it's not going to come undone easy. And then I'm just going to trim that off at the end. So you can see there, that's how you're going to re-blind hem it. And this is the top, like I said, but you can use that. That's the same technique that you would do for a pair of trousers or a hem on a skirt. And again, it's so easy to redo. I've got a dress and one single button has come off on the back and this come off in the wash. I've picked the colour cotton that is very similar to what is on the button that's on. I've done the cotton, so I've got double strength because there's two tied in a small knot on the bottom. So I'm going to just thread this through there, making sure that I've got the distance where the button originally was. So I'm going to first of all put that through like so, and then I'm going to simply thread that through the button. I'm going to get that knot, and I'm just going to come in through. And you want to aim to come tight to where the button is there. You want to keep it tight so you're not going too wide, because with this you'll not see the stitching when you're actually wearing the dress and you've got the those bands going around it. So you can just see there, and if it loops, just pull it through. You can see there's a bit of a loop there, so just get the one cotton that needs pulling to pull it through. Now I would have got away with black cotton on this as well because of the animal print and the black buttons, but I've just gone similar to the one that's on the other button. So you can see there I'm going tight underneath the button there, coming up the other side, and then just keep redoing that. Then once I've got a right amount, now I can tell that that's on secure. When I've got the stitch in here, I'm going to keep going through there, and I'm going to do this quite a few times to secure it so that it's not going to be coming undone in any time soon. Getting a bit knotted, that, and that's that, and I'm just going to cut that off. And that is how you restitch that type of button back on. Right, so this is the repair that I'm going to be doing today, and it's on the top. But this, how I'm going to show you how to do this, if you've got a hole in a pocket, you would do the same method to repair it. So I'm going inside the top. So I've got it there, and it's where it's come out of the overlocking. So I'm going to do it in white cotton so you can actually see what I'm doing. So just before here, just before the hole starts, I'm going to come up there. I'm going to just pull that up, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to basically keep going across as if it was small stitches that I was doing on the sewing machine. So let me just go a little bit past that. Okay, then I'm going to turn it round. And then I'm going to go back, but coming up where the gaps are. So you can see there you've got your stitching that's connecting. Okay, so that's your running stitch. So I'm going to do the blanket stitch now to overstitch the stitching. So you're going to come with the needle through from the back, and then where this is going to loop, you're going to put your needle through that, and then come up again as you're working your way across. And then where you've got this cotton that's, just get that so it's not looping, it's going to pull down, you're going to put your needle through that. So from the back, pulling your cotton through. Before you're going to pull it tight, you're going to put your needle through it, and then this is creating your blanket stitch. So pulling that through, putting your needle through it, putting your needle through it, and you're coming in from the back all the way along this. Again, putting your needle through it before you pull it tight. And there we have the blanket stitch on it. And then I'm just going to tie that off by literally stitching through that a few times just to secure it so it's not going to come undone. Right, now I'm just going to mark this with a permanent marker, so I'm not going to be undoing it, I'm just going to colour it so that the cotton goes black, because obviously it's a black top. So you're running stitch across, then coming back, and then you're going to do a blanket stitch on the edge. So that's just another little repair that you can do without the aid of a sewing machine. So I'm going to be showing you how to sew a popper on. So this is a large popper that I've got. So what you need to do is, the item of clothing that you're going to be putting it on, is decide where you're going to put it. Now on this white strip, this cream stripping, I'm going to stitch one popper onto that, and then it's just a case of bringing it over and deciding whereabouts you want the opposite popper to go. Right, so I've got a tape measure and I'm going to decide where this is as to where the popper's going to come. So I've got my finger there, and then I'm going to take the tape measure over from this inside to where my finger is there, and it's 7 inch. So as well as measuring the 7 inch across for this side for the popper to go on, I need to measure how deep I need it to come. So I'm going to just fold that over, because I'm going to measure it from the top of the cardigan and then take it down to where I want it to be, which is going to be there. So I'm going to come 14.5 inches down on the right side, and then on the left side it's going to be 7 inches in. So you need to put your item of clothing down, and we're going to get these so that they're going to be flat. Now we know that that's coming down 14.5 inches from the top, so I'm going to mark that, get me 14.5 inches. I'm going to go on the back of that marker, and I'm just going to put a marker there with some tailor's chalk. And then from that, I think I said it was coming in 7 inch, wasn't it? So I'm going to put both those, let me get my 7 inch first. So from here, 7 inches here. So I'm going to put the bottom of that, so the right side is coming over the left, and I'm going to bring that dot over there. So making sure that the bottom hems is running through there. And then where that dot is, I'm going to just put that there, and then make sure I've got my 7" coming in from there. Yeah, and that's spot on. And then I'm going to put my marker there. So you can see I've got a mark here, mark here. So one side will be stitched onto that, the opposite side will be stitched onto that, and that is where the popper is going to be stitched. Right, so I'm going to get this side of the cardigan first. Now with the poppers, it doesn't matter which side you put on which. So I'm just going to separate them, but make sure that you keep them right way, that you don't sew it on the wrong way. So you've got that bit which slits into that, and I'm going to put, with the bobbly bit, I'm going to put that on this side and then put that one on the other side. So I'm going to put that down facing that way, so there's no way I'm going to put that on upside down. I've double threaded my cotton and put a knot in it, and I'm just going to bring that in the centre of where I've just marked it. So the knot's going to be in the middle, and you make sure that it's not going to come through to the right side. So I'm going to put where that dot is, this middle bit, I'm going to make sure that that is exactly where that dot is. And then I'm going to simply start by coming up and stitching this in place, making sure that I'm not taking the needle too deep, that it's going to show on the right side of the cardigan. Pull that, 'cause there's a bit of a loop there, and then I'm going to come across and I'm going to thread the needle to come inside, making sure that it's, so I'm going to go through that knitted area, but I'm making sure, you can see there, you can see the needle, so I've gone too deep. So I'm going to come a little bit higher up, just watching where I'm going to be coming up and making sure that the needle's not showing, because then you won't see the thread. And then I'm going to go in the opposite hole and stitch that down, all the while making sure that I'm not going through to the front of the cardigan. And then once again, I'm going to bring it through to this quarter, look through to make sure there's no needle showing, and then bringing that through and then stitching this piece in place. And again, going through to the other quarter, making sure that there's no sign of the needle there. And just do it enough times so you make sure that it's secure. And then to finish it off, I'm just going to take the needle and come through where I've just been stitching that, and I'm going to do that about 3 or 4 times to secure it so it's not going to come undone, and that's going to finish that off. So you can't see any cotton there, it's done on that side. Right, so I've got the opposite side of the cardigan where I've got the dot. So I'm going to grab for that opposite side, and where the dot is, I'm going to put it on the right side and have the knot underneath the popper. And then I'm going to just slit that, where, but again, put in this, so the centre is over where the blue mark is. And once again, I'm just going to stitch this trying to not go through too much on the back. Right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to come under a little bit there and then come up the opposite side, but that thread is going to be underneath. Now this isn't a double knit like this was, because I got two different layers of knitting there, and I haven't got that on this because it's the main part of the cardigan. So I'm going to take that under again and then just bring it up a bit, and then I'm going to take the cotton up and bring it up the next hole, and the cotton will be underneath this instead of the back of the cardigan. And then that is your popper in place. So let me just try this on for you. So that's my cardigan with the one popper. I don't want any more, I just want the one on. But if you wanted several on, then you would just lay it on top like we did to mark these. Mark out your measurements where you want your other one, put in your pencil mark, and then put in more in if you want more. Now if you've got a coat or a jacket or any type of top that's got poppers on, or even skirts, anything that's got a popper on where one side has come off, then you would just try it on. Now before trying it on, take a look at your garment, because sometimes you can see where the side has come off because you've got little hole marks, or there might be little tiny pieces of cotton that's there that will say this is where I was. But if you've got a top where there's no sign of where it was sat, then what I would say is try the garment on, measure to where you want it to be. Again, make sure your hems are level, and then measure it coming up and in, and then that gives you your spot for where you need your opposite popper to be. Now I've already showed you guys what stitching to use to repair a pocket, as in trouser pocket, coat pocket, but what I'm going to show you now is how to get inside a coat to get to your inside pocket to repair it. Now on most jackets or coats, your opening when they bag it in is on the sleeve. So you can see here, exactly here where they've stitched it. Okay, so I'm going to undo that, and you don't need to undo it all, you just need to undo enough so that you can get your hand in to pull the pocket through. Right, so that's all I'm going to undo, because that's all I need. And then I'm going to come through where the pocket is. Now I haven't got any holes in this pocket, but you go in, you would pull it through, and then you would repair it. All I'm doing in this part is showing you how to get to your pocket. So you would just go inside. Now on these, they're actually big patch pockets, but if that was, you know, your pocket coming on the side seam, you would just pull the pocket, pull it through. You can see the stitching there, that if that needed repairing, and then you would do the repair like I showed you on that black top, where you'd do a running stitch, come back, and then do your blanket stitch, and then you will put that back inside. And then all I'm going to do now is I'm going to repair this stitching that I've just opened. So I've already got my cotton. I'm going to come inside and bring that through, making sure that the knot is inside. Now here where I've just started undoing it, I'm just going to come through that a few times, really securing that. Right, and then I'm going to line these both sides up, and I'm going to do a running stitch again, and I'm going to make it quite small. And I've just gone over about 1 centimetre from where I undid it, and I'm going to bring it the other way, and then I'm just going to, where there's gaps where I haven't sewn it there, I'm going to fill that in. So I'm doing the running stitch again, but I'm doing it so that it's making a full run of stitching. And then I'm just going to do a few stitches over the top of each other. Right, I've actually done 4 there, but let me just get that cut off. And that is your opening restitched like it was originally done, where you've got your running stitch. But that's how you get into your coat or your jacket. Just pull both your sleeves through. On one of them you will have this, and then you just pull your sleeve back through, and then it's good as new again. So this is the last sewing job that I'm going to be showing you, because I think I've pretty much covered most things. Now this is a man's shirt, but it could easily be a woman's blouse. Now a button's come off, but what I'm going to do first of all, I'm going to look at how the other buttons are stitched on, and you can see there that they've done it like a cross. Now sometimes it might just come across in 2, or sometimes you get a button where it's just across once, but this is the same technique that you would do no matter how it was. It'd be the same similar way of stitching it on. So I'm going to pull these threads out. I'm going to just pull what I can out of the back. And you can see there where there's 4 tiny holes where the needle's been going through to put the button on. So I'm going to get the button and I'm going to place it directly over those 4 holes. I've already got my needle threaded and I've got it double thread, so I'm going to do it in half the time instead of keep going through with a single thread. Now I'm going to take that knot once again where it's going to be under the centre of the button rather than on the back, because the button will hide it. Now let me just get a bit of that knot through there so it's pulling it flat to the centre there. Okay, then I'm going to put the button directly over that in the centre, and I'm going to start crisscrossing these across. So I'm holding that button in place until it's secure after I've done a few. So just pushing it down in the opposite hole, coming up the back, taking it down, coming to the opposite hole. And like I say, if there was going crisscross, you're literally doing the same thing, but you would go crisscross or crossing. Just take note of what the other buttons are like and do this one exactly the same. And then when it's secure, go to the back, and what I'm going to do is, where I've got the stitching, I'm just going to keep coming through that quite a few times till I'm happy that it's not going to be coming undone. And then I'm going to cut that stitching off. And that is your button back on. You've got your same crisscross like is on the other buttons. So there's been a good selection there, guys, of simple repairs to do if you're not a sewer and you've not got a sewing machine. You can do a blind hem, you can repair pockets, you can repair seams, you can put buttons on, you can put poppers on. And once you know how to do it, it is quite simple. So I hope you've enjoyed this selection of repairs and it's been useful for you. So thanks for watching, guys. Take care for now, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.